Oh, yay. Woohoo! I'm live. Hello, everybody. Let me switch over here to the actual chat box. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a few minutes, let people get in here. It's always the fun part of webinars is when you first get started. And so I'm excited to be here, you guys. I haven't done a webinar in quite a while, and to be honest, I had no idea what I was doing when I did my first webinar. And so it was just like a Google Hangout on air, and I didn't have a chat box connected correctly. And yeah, so I'm very excited. I am also going to actually plug in my headset because I don't have my nice microphone today. So I'm going to do this so that you guys can hear me better. Hopefully that. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Freshbooks. If you don't know me, I am Melissa Whaley. I'm a virtual bookkeeper and tax preparer. I live in California. I have been doing this for about 3 years on my own, and I've been in the bookkeeping and tax industry since 2009. So today I wanted to just kind of give you guys an opportunity to ask questions about Freshbooks, kind of walk you guys through it. I know that they have their own, basics intro webinar that you can sign up for, and it's great. It really shows you how to do things, but I know a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we get bored out of our minds watching those sort of things, and it just doesn't have that like personal touch. So I know a lot of people have asked questions about Freshbooks, and for those of you who are coming over from the Being Boss group, if you saw my post in Being Boss, and if you listen to Being Boss with those ladies, then you've heard a lot about Freshbooks because they're the sponsor there. So I am going to turn on my screen share, and then we will get started as far as the kind of tutorials go. So let me switch to screen share. Okay, so this is also available for download. So if you guys click the link up at the top where it says download slides, you can have access to this in my Google Drive. So first things first, I have to go through my disclaimers just to CYA. Just so you guys know, I am in no way affiliated or employed by Freshbooks. I'm an independent bookkeeper and licensed tax preparer in the state of California, and the opinions in this webinar are mine and don't reflect anything of Freshbooks. Also, the tips and demonstrations that I'm doing today are general and may not apply to your business. So we do not have a client relationship by you viewing this webinar. And of course, any tax advice is not intended to be used for avoiding penalties or marketing and promoting any tax-related matter. So basically, I'm not giving you personal tax advice. I'm giving general ideas. So if you guys are unfamiliar with FreshBooks, so FreshBooks is a cloud-based income and expense tracking software. They call it FreshBooks Cloud Accounting. And with FreshBooks, you can send really pretty invoices, and you can also track your expenses by linking your bank accounts. So that's really cool because it just allows you to track stuff for your business, and it just does a lot of cool stuff. I don't call it an accounting software completely, but that's because I'm also an well, I'm not an accountant, I'm a bookkeeper, but there's some things within the world of accounting that FreshBooks cannot do, and that's part of what I'm going to be sharing today. And then, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about who FreshBooks is a great fit for and who it's not a great fit for. So FreshBooks is a great fit for service-based professionals. So designers, coaches, consultants, virtual assistants, a lot of the people that I work, my clients that we use FreshBooks for are like web designers, graphic designers, PR coaches, consultants. And so those are the kind of people that are using FreshBooks. FreshBooks is not a great fit for heavy online retailers, so people that have like a retail website, people that are basically like selling through their website. People who are selling through their like Shopify or any of those type of shopping cart systems, and if they are primarily a product-based business. So if you sell a lot of products, either in person or online, it's not the best fit. And I'll go into more detail as to why. And then if you have a subscription service or a membership site, it is not good for those type of, if it's built into like a membership site or something like that. So I'll talk a little bit more about why as I'm showing you the software itself. And part of the why is it's invoice based. So a lot of times we think that when we sync our bank account, like it's going to import both. So you have to record income in FreshBooks, you have to create an invoice. FreshBooks was originally created as just an invoicing software. So it just did invoices. It made them really pretty. It allowed people to invoice and people pay online. This is kind of when accounting software hadn't gone online fully. It was very new, so most people were using desktop software like regular old QuickBooks. I'm sure everyone's heard of QuickBooks. And so that's why FreshBooks, but then they added on the expense tracking later down the road and changed it to FreshBooks accounting. So they import expenses from your bank accounts, but they do not import income. So if you are primarily a designer and you invoice your clients through FreshBooks, every invoice that you send and they pay, that's all getting tracked correctly in FreshBooks. But say you also have an ebook that you're selling through your website or through a service like Gumroad or something integrated with Stripe. Even if Stripe is depositing money into your bank account, it will not show up in FreshBooks because FreshBooks is only pulling in the expenses. So there are some other programs that I'll talk about that import both income and expenses, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So today I just want to go through kind of the basics. We're going to go through setting up your account, adding clients and projects, creating invoices, tracking time, and then I wanted to do a little bonus on expenses and cost of goods sold, otherwise known as COGS, for those of you guys to help you understand that a little bit. Then how to read the reports, and then other options other than FreshBooks. So I am going to then switch over here to actual FreshBooks, and I apologize, I have to figure out how to do this better where I can see the chat and not screen share the chat box. So let me turn off my screen sharing for a sec. So I'm gonna actually show you guys the software itself. Yay, I'm glad this is cool that I get to show you about FreshBooks, so woohoo. So yeah, so I'm gonna show you guys kind of what the program looks like. I'm gonna walk you through. This is the account that I'm using is one that I used to use for a little while for myself, but then FreshBooks wasn't totally the perfect fit for me. So I decided to use something a little different, but that's okay because, you know, it's all about what works for you. So this account, I've just created a bunch of like dummy clients and dummy projects, and that will help me with all of that. So let me open up the FreshBooks screen here, and you guys will see what's up. Share, present to everyone. Okay, so this is FreshBooks. Now what happens, I'm not gonna walk you guys through signing up for FreshBooks. You can do that yourself. It's really, really easy. But once you do have your FreshBooks account and you get logged in, so they create a subdomain here for you. So when you do log in, you just type in your subdomain and then log in. So here is my home page, my login page. So it kind of gives you a basic of what's going on. Like I said, I don't have a ton of transactions in here, so it's not going to be looking like a normal person. Like right now, this would normally give you a pie chart of your different expenses broken down. I don't have a lot of expenses in there properly. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys is kind of just going through the settings. Like when you first set up, so what you want to do is click up here in settings, and it's gonna walk you through. I love the way that FreshBooks flows. It's really nice. So, you know, you start and you can just basically go through each thing. So just entering your basic information. So I have all my stuff in there. And then you can sync FreshBooks to accept payments through PayPal, Stripe, and then they actually still have, they have authorized.net. So authorized.net allows you, if you have a payment account set up through your actual bank. So a lot of people use like Wells Fargo or Bank of America, like you can get set up through them to accept credit cards on a bigger scale through their credit card processing. And then to be able to use it online, you use authorized.net. Braintree is just another card processing thing. FreshBooks used to have like a million different payment processors, and then they just realized that it was getting out of hand and a lot of people weren't using a lot of them. So anyways, I think right now I have my PayPal enabled on this particular account. I could enable my Stripe too. And then as far as taxes, this is gonna depend on your location and the regulations to where you live. So if you need to enter in any type of tax, you can do that right here. And you can add multiple types of tax, because I know people like in Canada have double tax and it's crazy. And then this is the fun part where you get to customize your color. So see how like I have my logo right here, and then I customize the color bar to kind of match my logo. And so you can upload those things and save. And then over here, template is just like how they basically have two templates of how your invoices look when your clients view them, especially when they print. So you have two options, and then you can change the way that like the titles, like at the top, like if you don't want it called invoice, you can call it something else. So I put statement or anyways, and then you can have a payment stub. So like if you're still printing a lot of invoices, you can have that there, just kind of an option. So permissions is when you start adding staff and clients, you can give them limitations or anything like that. So what's cool is like clients, when they click an invoice, and I'll show you this a little bit later, like you can have them be an option to dispute an invoice, and then document. So you can like add documents. So I'll kind of show you a little bit about that later. And then now FreshBooks has email templates. So you are allowed, or you can go through and like edit so when you send the email, when it auto sends the email for like an invoice, you can customize this template. And then miscellaneous is how many lines per page you want to show, what's your date format. Direct links is, you definitely want that turned on, because you can, when they get the email, then they can click directly in and open up their invoice. So that's a really cool thing. You can add like text and a few other basic things. You can add a welcome message to when clients view their page and all that good stuff. So that's the basic settings. You want to make sure you set up your company and your credit cards, your colors and logos. Those are like probably the most important things. Obviously taxes, if that applies to you. So going back to the home page, this is what it looks like when you log in, and it shows like income, all this good stuff. So the first thing that I want to go through is people. So this is where you have your clients. You can add staff and contractors, which is way cool. So you can add team members, because FreshBooks is both invoicing and kind of project management, in that, like, if you hire a contractor, you have a staff person, you can have them give access to, like, get access to FreshBooks, and then they can track time and they can do certain stuff depending on what access you give them. So that's what's really cool. You can link your accountant. So that would be where you invite someone like me. You invite them, and then we have, from the accountant portal, we have limited access to view your FreshBooks. We can't actually edit anything in your FreshBooks from the accountant portal, which I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of, but we'll see. And then if you have staff members, then you can actually like assign people to a staff member, and you can also view what emails have been sent out of FreshBooks. So the most important thing you're going to want to do is add new clients. So if you're moving out of another program, I've had a few people who are using Harvest, which is like a time tracking, project tracking program similar to this, but I don't like it as much. So you can import a client list if you have it in CSV. You just have to like follow the steps, and there's some formatting you have to do. Otherwise, you're just going to enter them by hand. And so you can have, also, if you have, say, like a business that you contract with, and it's like one big company, but you work with multiple people under that company, you can list the company here. So I can list big company, I can't spell. And then you want to send their invoices by email. You can also do snail mail. They have a service that will mail your invoices for you, which is cool if you work with people that still like paper. I don't. And then the only thing that is required when you create this client is their name and their email. So you can put in all your information and kind of keep all your client's information in there if you want. It even like lets you put in information about their industry and company size and internal notes. And if you want to add another person, you can add another contact, and you say like, oh, this is so-and-so, you know, this is the CEO and this is the marketing manager. So you can do that sort of stuff, which is really cool. And I'll just, let's see. I'm just putting in a fake email address right now. So save. So now it says your client has been created. So one thing that you have noticed is that it doesn't like pop you back to the clients thing. It just gives you a thumbs up. So you have to actually click clients again to go back. And so now I have my different peoples there. So that's creating people. And then the next thing I wanted to go over was invoices. So this is like the cool awesomeness of FreshBooks. Their invoicing is beautiful. So I'm going to show you, this is an invoice I created. Let's see, let's go to this one. This is one I created earlier today. So I have it in draft mode. So this is what my invoices look like. And it was sent using FreshBooks. If you have one of the higher paid program or subscriptions, it won't show that. But I love this right here. It's called the invoice autobiography. So this is basically the audit trail is what we call it in the accounting world. And it's really awesome because, you know, it's got the basics, it's got all the information, but you can see, like, I created this, but I haven't sent it yet. I have done certain things, but I haven't, like, you've sent it, but someone hasn't viewed it. So let me go back to invoices. And so say, like, I have this invoice that I also created. So you notice how it says viewed. So I created this. I created it. This is actually from a recurring invoice thing that I set up. I sent it. And then since I sent it to myself, I logged in and viewed it. So what's really awesome about this, when you're invoicing people, you know, they can't, your clients, I mean, hopefully you have awesome clients and they don't ever pull crud on you. But basically this prevents clients from pulling the, oh, I never saw the invoice. Well, actually, you logged in on this date at this time. Was that not you? Was that someone else? So that's really helpful to see that. You can set up recurring invoices. So say you have a client that you work with on a monthly basis or whatever, like a lot of times, you know, you're just doing ongoing services for them. So you can just set up, if you have a flat price that is for their particular service, you can just set it up as a recurring profile, and then it will generate an invoice, you know, weekly, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, monthly. You know, it's really, really cool how to do that. So I'm going to show you creating a regular invoice. And right here, you can also create it from a project, like if you have time recorded. So I'll show you time recording. So you just want to click a client. I'm just going to click this one because I know it works. Oh, look at here. This client has unbilled expenses. So that means in the expense tracking, you've assigned an expense to them, or you have time that they owe you. So you can just click this add all items. And oh, look at that. They owe me for Starbucks networking. Like I went to a networking event at Starbucks for them, so they need to reimburse me for that. So this is for things that you want to have reimbursed, basically. And then let's say, okay, well, I did cloud consulting for them for 2 hours this month, and then they owed me the $5. You can attach expense receipts. You know, I'm not worried about that. If you want to put a note on the invoice, you can just do that right here. And then you have a couple different options. So if you just want to, like, if you're trying to catch up on things and you just want to save it and not have your client be able to view it, you can save it as draft. If you want to email it to them, which is normally what happens, you click there. And then they have a third-party service that you can like buy stamps and basically pay for them to mail a hard copy of this invoice to your client. You can also print it out yourself. But anyways, I'm going to click send by email. This is, I can edit this particular, so there's the template and then there's the individual email. So I could, you know, say, hi, Melissa. Hope things are good with you. Here's the latest invoice. And then I hit send. And now it's cool. Okay, so what's really neat in FreshBooks is that you can have it set up so that they give you feedback. So you can basically push this button, and once your client has viewed and paid their invoice, it will pop up a, hey, would you do a review of me? So I'll click that. Okay, so that now I know. And then I'm going to jump over to my email and show you guys what that looks like. Oh, I need to go to my purse. Okay, so This is what the email looks like when you open it up. It says, hey, you got this invoice sent using FreshBooks. And I'm going to click this link, and all of a sudden it's going to pull up this magical invoice. So it logs them in to the FreshBooks system. So they have access. And what's great, and you can set them up with an actual like login and ID, or you can just have them click the link. And so this shows this current invoice that I just got an email for. And then you can show, or they can click all invoices. So these are all the invoices that have been sent to this client from me, and they can print them or pay them online. So like they could even select multiple ones and click pay online. And this, okay, this is your balance. Here, click to pay with PayPal. Well, I'm not going to do that right now. And then you can also, they can log in and see what payments they've made. Obviously, I haven't logged any payments for this. So that's really cool that the client has that access to FreshBooks and can see that sort of stuff. You can do estimates through FreshBooks as well. Oh, now I have to, hold on, now it's confused. It thinks I'm the other person, so let me log back in. So you can create estimates in FreshBooks. So you can send it as an estimate and have the client accept it before you start any work, which is cool. And then when they've like, even, you know, they can accept it officially through FreshBooks, or if they just send you an email, yeah, it looks great, you can click accept. Okay, great, it's been accepted. And now I've done the work, and I'm going to convert it to an invoice. And then it gives you, asks you, do you want it one time or recurring? So that's cool too. Okay, so now we're going to go into the big stuff of expenses. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. I haven't even checked the chat box. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so I hope you guys like FreshBooks so far. I think it's a really cool program. It just has a lot of pretty things, and I think that's why a lot of designers and creatives especially love FreshBooks, because it is so graphically pretty. I know I am a graphic snob, so when it comes to like services and websites that I use, I will choose the prettier one a lot of times over the better one. So that's just my preference. But you know, we all have our things. And so here we go. I'm going to walk you through what the expenses look like. So this is what expenses look like. And I don't have my auto import turned on. So these are all really old from when I was using it a long time ago. But what will happen is you can connect your bank account, and you do that right here in bank accounts. So what you do first, yeah, for some reason it downgraded my account. So you would connect your bank accounts there, or you can do a manual import. So you can export your bank statement, but it'll show you how to do that. It's kind of time consuming. Have to play in Excel. But when it does import, it'll look like this. And then now FreshBooks just started doing auto categorization, which is amazing, because a lot of these smaller companies, like these bookkeeping softwares, did not have auto invoicing. And you know, it's just really makes your life beautiful. So right now, you know, it's showing some uncategorized things, and it'll give you, I'm going to close that out. It'll give you, say, hey, got a sec? Check this out. You have uncategorized expenses, and you can click right there, and it'll pull up all the ones that are just uncategorized. It shows you what account it came from, and you like name your accounts and everything. And you know, it's probably in batch edit. So what you can do, if you know, like, oh my gosh, all of these 3 things were, these were bank fees. So you can basically batch edit transactions if you know all 3 of those were bank fees, and then it'll erase it from this search of just uncategorized expenses. So this just kind of focuses you in so that you can see just what needs to be categorized. And then I'm going to go back just to all the expenses. And you can also archive things in FreshBooks, which is really cool. So if you have old transactions, and I'm not going to get rid of them right now, but like these are from 2013 because that's when I was using FreshBooks. But you don't want them like filling up your thing. You can select a bunch of them and do what's called archive. And that just moves them out of sight. So like it says, they're still active, they just don't appear in your list. So if you want your list here to be focused on, you know, this year, all you have to do is switch here and switch to archived. And all of a sudden, all the ones that are archived. Also, if you've deleted anything, it doesn't delete them forever. It just deletes them from your reports. So basically, it's no longer showing up in your report. And one thing I want to talk about in expenses is a lot of times it will show up that you paid, like you transferred money out of your business account into your personal account. You know, we talk about it as business owners of paying ourselves. But when you are a sole proprietor, which most of us are, when you're freelancing, you're a sole proprietor, which means you file a Schedule C if you're in the US. I'm only talking about US stuff right now as far as taxes and all that goes. But when it comes to that, the US stuff, you're going to file it all in a Schedule C, which is part of your individual tax return. So paying yourself is not a deduction. It's not an expense. It's just you keeping all the money that's left over after your normal business expenses. So if I'm going to just like pretend to be uncategorized, transfer. Let me do that. Okay, so this is something that might show up that like loaded from your bank account. It'll show like transfer to personal, $1,000. And you might have just gone through and counted, oh, that's wages, I paid myself. If you leave that in FreshBooks, because FreshBooks is strictly for income and expenses, it will think that your total income is $1,000 left, that was a business expense. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail of this type of stuff in some upcoming courses that I'm creating. So stay tuned for that stuff. And I will talk about it in like minute detail on some of my Periscopes. I did my first Periscope today. So yeah, if you want to follow me on Periscope, that's kind of the kind of things that I'm going to be talking about. But if you leave something like this, it's going to really throw off your income reports. So as a sole proprietor, this is a big no-no. If I see this, I usually go through and delete it because it will throw off your reports like nobody's business. So that's the very, very basics of expense tracking. I'm going to jump over to reports. I'm actually going out of order. I'm going to jump over to reports and then I'll show you some more stuff. So here's the profit and loss. This is kind of our #1 report as a business. So there's two options. Now I created a bunch of invoices, but I haven't marked them as paid. So maybe I should go mark a few of those as paid. I'm gonna mark these two as paid. Let's say paid by check. Okay, and you can even send them a notification because if they are sent like mailing you a check, then you can send them an email notification that you received the check. You know, it's always nice. And so if when I go back to my reports now, I should be able to see more income. So most of us also as sole proprietors operate on a cash-based system, which means you count the income when it goes in your bank account, like when you get paid. You don't count it when you invoice. That's the other thing, is called the accrual, and that's like how much you've billed. So talk to your tax person about that. If you have a tax person, I operate on a cash-based system. It's just easier for me. So right now it's always going to default to a quarterly. I like to go to yearly. You always have to hit update right here. So now it breaks down like your whole year. So if I had actually had invoices and income on here all year long, it shows it right here. And then I can also click, it's linked right here. So I can click, oh, June sales. What were my June sales? And it will take me to the payments window and show me all the payments that I received. So I'm just gonna go back. And then expenses. I don't really have any expenses entered in here correctly right now. So what's cool about this is it shows you your breakdown of your profit for each month and then your total for the year. It is not the prettiest report in the world, I have to say. For as pretty as FreshBooks is most of the time, this report is not as pretty. If you want a more graphic view, that's what the dashboard is for. Because it gives you kind of this bar graph up here to show how many things were paid versus how much have you invoiced. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of breakdown, and then your expenses there. But as far as reporting, that's kind of the basic of the profit and loss. And then what's interesting, okay, so about FreshBooks, if you need to mark a category as cost of goods sold. So I'm going to switch over here. And so what is an expense? An expense is a cost of doing business. Your supplies, your subscriptions, your insurance, your software, things like that. Those are expenses. What is not an expense? Like I talked about, paying yourself as a sole proprietor. If you're a sole proprietor, paying yourself is not an expense. Personal expenses that come out of a business account. Oops. Okay, so you're at the store and you grab the wrong debit card and you buy your groceries on your business account instead of your personal account. Well, then you need to go into FreshBooks and delete those transactions. Those can't be there. It will throw off your reports. And especially if you're only using FreshBooks to track your income and expenses, it will make you look like you have less income than you do. But then when you get to tax time and you're actually filling out your tax return, you'll end up owing more taxes because you thought you didn't make as much money as you actually did. Home office is not an expense that you record in FreshBooks. Home office is something that you record at the end of the year on your taxes. And so you don't write it off throughout the year. And there's a lot of calculations that go into writing off a home office. If you rent an office space, if you pay to use a co-working space, that's totally expensible. So I just wanted to kind of break that down. So cost of goods sold. These are the type of things that should go under cost of goods sold. And I'm using a graphic designer as an example. Credit card processing fees. So your PayPal, if you use PayPal fees, your PayPal fees. If you use Stripe, your Stripe fees. Both of those things do not automatically load into FreshBooks. Your PayPal fees might. Stripe does not integrate with FreshBooks in the bank side. Like you won't import expenses from Stripe. So you need to enter those. Cost of goods sold. So if you're a graphic designer, if you're buying fonts, stock graphics, or domains that you're buying, and then the client is part of what you're delivering to the client, those are part of a cost of goods sold. Supplies or services for a physical product. So say you were actually doing printing, like you printed it yourself, or you were paying a printer. So say, someone ordered business cards from you. You design the business card and then you use a drop shipper to print and send those business cards. That cost you pay to that printing service is a cost of goods sold because it's a cost involved with a specific product. Cost of shipping an order. If you print it yourself, but then also have to pay postage to ship it to a customer, then the cost of shipping an order is a cost of goods sold. And this is one that a lot of people get confused about. Contractors, oops, oh my gosh, I got all excited. Contractors hired to complete a client project. Okay, so again, we're using the example of a graphic designer. If you're a graphic designer and you are really good at certain things, but then like you get super behind and you need to hire out a contractor, like you have another designer who's a lot better at doing collages than you, or a lot better at doing business cards than you, or you need them to clean up something to finish this up for a project, like you're doing a big kit. If you're paying them to work on a specific client project, then it's a cost of goods sold. If they're a staff person, then that's different. That's an expense. So going back to FreshBooks, if you are here, how you designate something as cost of goods sold is you have to go to your profit and loss. This is kind of weird. You hit this button called edit. And it says, hey, use the checkboxes to select which expense categories belong in your cost of goods sold. Oh, okay. Thanks, guys. So you can kind of click through. And it has a major category of contractors, and then you could probably make multiple ones, but I just always do contractors, and then other expenses down here. I don't even know if I have it created. Okay, so I don't have it in here yet, but I'm gonna hit save. If you need to add an expense category, so they give you a very basic set of expense categories, and so when you're either like working on stuff here, basically you can, like I can go, that's not what I wanted. You can go to contractors and you click edit this list and add subcategory. So you can even put like COGS contractor, and then other. So that's how you add subcategories. And FreshBooks is set up purposely to kind of have these as tax friendly, so Schedule C friendly categories, so you can list things under here. Okay, so the other one that I usually add is credit card processing fees. And the other term that people use for this a lot is merchant account fees. But you know, sometimes it's just easier to keep it simple. So done editing. So credit card processing fees. So now I can go back to my report, back to my profit and loss, here to edit cost of goods sold. And now I can do COGS contractor, and then other expenses is credit card processing fees. So those are the two things that almost always need to be under cost of goods sold, and it's just how you file your tax return. And I'm not going to go deep into taxes right now. The other thing obviously would be like if you are creating a product like jewelry, you can put supplies in there and tools and things like that. So that's just kind of a little bonus talking about cost of goods sold. I'm going to go back here and talk about time tracking. So this is like the best. I know I keep talking about this is really cool about FreshBooks. This is really, really cool about FreshBooks is that you can do time tracking, and you can do this from the web. You can do this from your iPhone. You can do this from your iPad. I think they have Android apps as well. I don't use Android, so I don't know. But you can create projects and then track time against those projects. So you create projects from the time tracking thing, and so you can have multiple projects under one client, because some projects are billed hourly. Some projects you're billing for the whole, like you give them a flat fee of like, okay, for a website design, it's going to be $5,000. But so even though you're charging a flat fee for that project, you still want to maybe track your hours against those things. So you can just create a new project here, you know, create it, whatever you want to do. There, this is website. And the client, so you can either assign it as one of your clients, or if you want to track your time on an internal project. So like I would say, okay, this is my internal project. And you can, if you have staff members or contractors, you can assign like them a rate, like based on their rate, and a task based on the task. You can assign an hourly rate for that specific project, or a flat project amount. I'm going to say this flat project amount is $5,000. And it should take me, so if this is internal, then it really would be 0. But this project should take me 15 hours. And then you can assign tasks. So you can create new tasks in here, like what tasks need to be done and if they have a billable rate. So I need to create a new task, which is web design, and this is not billable. But you can also, so if you have a certain task, then you can set an hourly rate for that. So like I have other things. So you can remove tasks, add tasks, and then you can add team members. I don't have any team members right now. And then they have a connection with Elance. So woo, save. So this is an internal project. I can then go to my timesheet and I can select what project I'm working on. So like I need to work on my own website. You can put in your social media. You can, you know, track time. So it kind of works like something like Toggle, or I know in 17 Hats, like you can track time as billable or non-billable. So you can kind of keep track of yourself on your internal projects as well as your client projects. So like my monthly bookkeeping for this person, like, okay, I'm going to do this. So you can log hours, or you can just hit start timer and it'll pop up here. You tell it what project it is, what task you're doing, so it knows what the rate to bill, and then you hit play. And then it'll just start tracking. And you can do this from your phone as well. So once you're done, well, it won't go very long, but I can just pretend. And then you log the hours. So now I can go here and see, oh, this is what I did today. As far as for this, so you can view it by date. So this is by month. So like you can click on each, so you can kind of see like, oh, I logged an hour there, I logged an hour here. You can do it by the week. And then this is cool because you can add hours, excuse me, or you can just do today. Like today I did this, and it'll show you like what you did for that whole day, which isn't that different from monthly, but yeah, so that's cool. If you have a team member, then you can see your team time sheets. So I only have myself. I can go here, all tasks, and see like what I did for this person. But if you had other team members, you can see what they've been working on. And then you can generate an invoice from right here. So you can put in a date range, or you can put in the client, and then you can either want to, if you want to bill them for the time you've done on all their projects. Like if you have multiple projects, you can send a consolidated invoice for all the projects, or you can just do for that particular project. And then you can make it as detailed. So this shows like whatever notes you put in, you can put in there. You can, what to include, you know, team members. You can just do it grouped. So it's just, okay, this is the task I did from these dates to these dates, or you can do a single line. I prefer detailed. I like to give detail. And then if you have expenses, like you bought a font or a thing that needs to also be reimbursed by the client, then you can include that there. I'm just going to do something, create an invoice. And then it bumps you over to the invoice thing. So that's really cool. And it'll show you, okay, these are all the time. This is basically all the time entries that I have. So that's how to generate it. And I'm just going to save that as a draft. So that's how you generate it from the time tracking. So time tracking is really cool, really helpful. And it used to be only available in the higher subscriptions of FreshBooks, but now it is available even on the lower level. So that's really, really helpful for those sort of things. So that is kind of the big picture overview of FreshBooks and some of the tricks and tips. So I did want to show you guys. So if you are primarily a service-based person and you love FreshBooks and you want to use it, but you also have something like you have an ebook or something that people buy directly through your website that you wouldn't invoice them for. The workaround, and I use this for clients that have like Stripe, like they use Stripe to sell stuff online. So I just make up a fake email, honestly, and I call this, oh, okay. I call this Stripe Sales, and I save it. And this is how FreshBooks tells you to do it too. So I create a client called Stripe Sales. I turn off online payment. I basically add an item, and so for these things this is where there's like tasks versus items. So you can see like up here, this is based on time, rate, hours, that sort of thing. And this is based on units. So if you're selling an item, you can have items versus just time on a FreshBooks invoice. So I'm going to call this ebook. I can't type ebook. And this costs 20 bucks. And so what I do is I would set my invoice date to like the end of every month. So my July sales, and I can type in description, July sales. I sold 5 of my $20 ebooks. Save the item. I sold 5 of those in July. And then I can put a note, you know, from July sales report. And then I can just save it as draft. Because obviously I put in a fake email anyways. And then when you save it as draft, you can then go in and view and enter payment. So this is a way to get around like actually sending it to, this is how you record income without having to email it to anyone. And you can just email it to yourself too, that's an option. But then you can enter payment and you can set up however, you know, they paid. So a lot of times if it's Stripe, I'll just type it as ACH. And then Stripe transfers, and then save. Yes. Not now. So now it's showing as paid. So when I go into my report again, my profit and loss, it's going to actually show, hey, you made this sale in, oh, I don't know what I set it as. So I probably put the wrong date on it. Oh yeah, here it goes. I put it as 8/13. So if I change it to July, but it'll show there as stripes. So that's how you have to record the income that comes from other sources. So that's the thing that a lot of people don't know about FreshBooks. They think that because they have their bank account synced, that it is going to pull in their income too, and it won't. So that's one downside of FreshBooks. But basically, there are some other options that work with FreshBooks. So what I say is that FreshBooks is an income and expense tracking tool. It is not a full accounting program like something like QuickBooks. But there's another really cool program called Cashew. And this is very low cost. And I'm just going to show you the website. But they sync with FreshBooks, and they're a full bookkeeping accounting program. So you can do journal entries, you can track like owner draws and owner investment, which is a lot of accounting terms that probably people don't know. So I'll talk about that in more of my accounting basics stuff later. But from a bookkeeper and tax perspective, like these are the kind of things that really help you as a business owner know the value of your business. It's beyond just knowing how much money you make, because you have things like computers, like you have assets like computers, or like you have debt like lines of credit or credit cards, and that affects the overall value and kind of state of your business. So I really think it's important to have something beyond just FreshBooks. And what's great about Cashew is that it has a direct FreshBooks API integration. So the two of those things are married beautifully. I'm going to stop sharing and go back here. Hello. Yeah, it's amazing what you can do in FreshBooks. So there's a lot of cool stuff. But so you can link Cashew and FreshBooks, and that is how you kind of like get the bigger accounting stuff. And a lot of times, you know, that's where a bookkeeper like myself would go in and then do the adjustments and give you a really fine-tuned, more than just an income and expense report, and more than a profit and loss. So that's what's really cool about that. And then the other things that you can do, or programs that you can sync it with less cleanly, are QuickBooks Online and Xero, and then QuickBooks Desktop. FreshBooks has like an export, so you can export things and then import them into QuickBooks Desktop. I don't work in QuickBooks Desktop. I'm strictly a virtual bookkeeper. I only work in cloud software. So, but I have other accountant friends who do that, and it works. So that's kind of a cool thing that they do. And so that's an option. If you are considering FreshBooks and you realize like, oh, well, you know, I'm a jewelry maker and I don't want to have to like hand create invoices for every single one of my sales through, say, like my Etsy store or my Shopify on my website or something like that. Then I would consider something a little more robust like Xero or QuickBooks Online. Both of those programs have integrations with those shopping cart systems, with those e-commerce systems. So as far as e-commerce goes, like it can be done in FreshBooks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just a lot more work. And the question is, do you want to have to do all of that work yourself or pay someone to do it versus paying a little bit more for a software that can integrate and do a lot more for you? So that's just kind of what I wanted to touch base on that. But part of what I'm going to be moving towards is that any client that I work with in FreshBooks is also going to be linked to Cashew. And I'll show you, let's see. So FreshBooks, I'm going to pull up my web browser again. Okay, share, I got to go to the right screen. So Cashew has, for their pricing, theirs is really, really affordable. So I have to say it's a good option. So they either have, so it's $50 a year or $5 a month. And that's like all the basic stuff. And that's what you would need if you're using FreshBooks. Like you don't need other stuff. If you wanted to only use Cashew and just ditch FreshBooks, they kind of have some of the features here with like project-based accounting and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's a bigger price. So this $50 a year combined with FreshBooks is a really cool thing. And then I'm going to go back to, so FreshBooks, their standard pricing, oh my gosh, it's like hard to find. I forgot. We're using FreshBooks, award-winning support. Oh, I have to. So they don't make it easy to find their pricing because they want you to sign up for their free trial. So they have a free 30-day trial. Let me go into my. So if I log into mine and I go to my account and it says, hey, you're on the free plan, upgrade, it'll show you the pricing. Okay, so here's kind of the 3 tiers that they advertise. They have a third option, which is actually down here. It's a $9.95. Yeah, $9.95 a month is their sapling. And so that's if you only have like, I think it's 5 clients, 5 active clients. So how FreshBooks bases kind of the pricing tiers. So you can't, oh, also you cannot add teams unless you're on their Mighty Oak plan. So you can't add them into FreshBooks. And then, yeah, okay, so that's that. So if this is the number of clients you can invoice is the number of active clients. So you can kind of work around this by deactivating certain clients. So if you don't work with 25 clients ongoing every month, if you only work with like 5, if you're only working on 5 active clients at a time, you go to your clients thing and say like, oh, okay, well, I'm done with big company and I'm not going to be working with them for a long time. So I can archive them, and then bam, oh, now I only have 4 active clients. So if you have a lot of clients, you can archive them, and that is a trick to keeping your subscription price down. Also, with FreshBooks, they have they do have affiliates. So a lot of people are FreshBooks affiliates. If you listen to Being Boss, that's part of their thing is they're a FreshBooks affiliate. So they get their sponsorship through that. You can sign up to be a FreshBooks affiliate, or if you're a accounting professional, you can sign up to be a turn this off. You can sign up to be a FreshBooks accountant, like I am. And if you work with me and like I invite you to FreshBooks, then there are some discount that you get for being like signing up for FreshBooks kind of thing. I'm not trying to like sell you like, oh, join me and let me sign you up for FreshBooks. Just letting you know how that works, insider view. So I think if someone comes to me and is like, I don't have FreshBooks, but I'm interested in trying it out, and I send them an invite to connect with me, then they get a 15% discount for life. So that's what's up with that. Yeah, I don't know if people had questions, but you can always send me questions via Facebook, or my website is whaleybookkeeping.com. You can contact me through there. Tweet me. I just started up on Periscope, so if you're interested, I just wanted to be able to be here and show you guys how FreshBooks works and some of the insider stuff that you don't really learn on their basic intro webinar. So yeah, I don't think anyone has questions right now. I haven't seen anything. So I am going to sign off, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Thanks for watching.